You're being lied to about what America looks like. You think it's strip malls, potholes, HOA fees, and a Starbucks every 400 feet? Cute. Meanwhile, the US government quietly owns places with black sand beaches, lava tubes, coral reefs, and even a whole island you can't legally live on, but they all fall under that same red, white, and blue flag. Here's the kicker. Some of these places have fewer people than a Buc-ee's bathroom, and one of them is so remote you have to cross an international border twice just to check your mail. These aren't postcards. These are real, federally recognized, tax-paying pieces of America that feel more like alternate dimensions than zip codes. And the best part? No passport, no customs, no clue from the average person that they even exist. Let's fix that. Number 10. St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. A legal American passport stamp to paradise. Let's get something straight. St. Croix is America. Technically, legally, constitutionally. But when you step off that plane and the Caribbean heat slaps you like a warm velvet glove soaked in mango juice, your brain will immediately forget you're still under the jurisdiction of the IRS. This isn't just an island, it's a time portal, a full sensory extraction from mainland chaos. And here's the kicker. You don't even need a passport to get here. Just a government-issued ID, some SPF 100, and the emotional readiness to question why you live anywhere else. This is the largest of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and yet somehow still feels like a secret. Its beaches, practically untouched. Its people, laid back but fiercely proud. And its history? Oh, buddy, St. Croix was colonized by the Dutch, the French, the Spanish, the British, the Danish. This place has had more flags than a NASCAR race. Now it's U.S. territory, but don't expect strip malls and Target stores. Instead, think sugar plantations turned museums, reef-protected beaches, and bioluminescent bays that light up like alien water under your kayak. Buck Island Reef is federally protected, as in U.S. National Park status, and it has an underwater snorkeling trail with plaques like it's a museum built by Poseidon himself. The economy here runs on tourism, yes, but also on rum. Cruzan and Captain Morgan both distill locally, and you can literally smell the molasses in the air some days. And let's talk real estate. You can buy a 3-bedroom ocean view villa here for less than a 1-bedroom condo in Portland. And property taxes? Basically a polite suggestion. The island even has its own power grid, currency, USD of course, and medical system. But good luck finding a Starbucks. St. Croix isn't America light. It's America on vacation, but still America. You get the protection of the U.S. flag, the comfort of English signage, and the thrill of being somewhere that feels borderline illegal in its beauty. Just know, the moment you taste callaloo stew at a beachside, shack with a steel drum band playing Bob Marley covers at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, you're never mentally coming back. Number 9. Kalaupapa Peninsula, Molokai, Hawaii. The Forbidden Eden with a haunting past now. If you think Hawaii is all resorts, Mai Tais, and Instagram girls in floppy hats, let me introduce you to Kalaupapa Peninsula, aka the part of Hawaii the tourists never see. Located on the north shore of Molokai, the most isolated of the Hawaiian Islands, Kalaupapa is a living paradox, a place of unspeakable historical suffering wrapped in absolutely jaw-dropping natural perfection. Picture this, a narrow stretch of land carved into the base of the world's tallest sea cliffs. 3,900 vertical feet of moss-covered madness that drops straight into a turquoise ocean so clear you can see fish judging your mainland stress levels. This isn't just remote. It's functionally unreachable by car. You either take a 10-seater plane, hike a 3.5-mile cliff trail with 26 switchbacks, or, I swear I'm not making this up, ride a mule. That's how untouched this place is. But here's the emotional gut punch. Kalaupapa was once a forced leprosy colony. From the 1860s to 1969, over 8,000 people were banished here under U.S. public health law. Today, only a few elderly patients remain, and the area is protected as a National Historical Park, preserved in quiet reverence. That means no resorts, no tourists clogging the beaches, no noise. Just silence, beauty, and stories buried in lava rock. The whole peninsula is basically a sacred outdoor museum run by the National Park Service, and visiting it requires a permit, a guided tour, and a willingness to treat the land with actual respect. But once you're in, it's like stepping into Eden. The air smells like sea salt and papaya. The trails are framed with plumeria trees. Wild goats perch on the cliffs like sentinels. And the ocean? So blue it hurts your eyes. You can swim alone on white sand beaches where the only footprints are yours. And yes, it's still the United States. Still Hawaii. Still governed by zoning laws and statehood and all that, but your soul will not believe you're on U.S. soil. Kalaupapa is a reminder that paradise isn't always about joy. Sometimes it's about reverence, peace, respect. But make no mistake, this is paradise with a pulse, and it's still America, just not the version you're used to. Number 8. Culebra, Puerto Rico, the island where time called it quits. Okay, picture this. You wake up in a hammock, not a hotel bed. There's no air conditioning because the ocean breeze already solved that. You step onto your porch, or let's be honest, your improvised treehouse on stilts, and you see Flamenco Beach, ranked one of the top 10 beaches in the world by TripAdvisor, Condé Nast, and probably Poseidon himself. Welcome to Culebra, Puerto Rico's forgotten sibling, located about 17 miles east of the mainland. And yes, still, technically America. No passport required, no currency exchange, no customs line. Just a $2 ferry and a deep sense that you accidentally found paradise by scrolling too far on Google Maps. This island is 7 miles long and 3 miles wide. That's it. It has no high-rises, no fast food chains, no stoplights, one gas station, and about 1,800 residents who all know each other, the names of each other's dogs, and who's trying to build without a permit. This place has fought tooth and nail to remain unspoiled. Back in the 20th century, the U.S. Navy used Culebra for bombing practice. Yes, actual bombs on actual beaches. The locals said, no thanks, and by 1975, they successfully kicked the military off the island. Now, it's a wildlife refuge. Nearly 1/3 of the island is federally protected. Sea turtles nest on the beaches. Rare birds migrate here. And snorkeling is like swimming inside a 4K nature documentary. And did I mention the tank? Yeah, there's an actual rusted-out U.S. Army tank just chilling in the surf of Flamenco Beach, a leftover artifact that's become an Instagram icon. It's weird, it's haunting, and it's somehow beautiful. You can literally swim past coral reefs, then stumble onto Cold War hardware while looking for your flip-flop. The irony? Culebra is still run by Puerto Rican law, which is under U.S. law. So while it feels lawless in its quiet, untouched wildness, you're still bound by federal regulations. You just won't feel them breathing down your neck. In Culebra, nobody wears a watch. Nobody cares about your LinkedIn. And the biggest decision of the day is which beach to disappear on. This isn't just off-grid. It's off-calendar. Still technically America. But spiritually, a floating meditation retreat with Wi-Fi. Number 7. American Samoa, where the U.S. flag waves, and nobody notices now we're getting deep. American Samoa, not to be confused with Samoa, its independent neighbor, is literally a U.S. territory. As in, it's got a zip code, uses the U.S. dollar, and sends delegates to Congress. But let me tell you, when you land here, you will absolutely not feel American. You'll feel like you teleported to a Polynesian fever dream where the air smells like breadfruit, the mountains look like Jurassic Park, and the people still live by Fa'a Samoa, the 3,000-year-old code of communal life that puts family and land before pretty much everything else. Located in the South Pacific, halfway between Hawaii and New Zealand, American Samoa is the only U.S. territory south of the equator. That alone makes it feel alien. Add in the fact that 95% of the land is communally owned, meaning you can't just show up and buy property unless you're Samoan or marry into a family. And suddenly you're in a place where capitalism takes a back seat to culture. This is not a tourist destination in the traditional sense. There are no mega resorts, no cruise ships. Most hotels have fewer than 20 rooms. You don't come here to party. You come here to submit, to slow down, to unlearn everything the mainland taught you about ownership and productivity and being on time. The national park here is the only U.S. National Park Service site south of the equator, and it's mostly run in partnership with local villages. Think volcanic mountains dripping with ferns, beaches so remote you need to hike 3 miles to reach them, and coral reefs that haven't been touched by mass tourism or sunscreen runoff. And did I mention the internet? Barely functional, which means you'll finally be forced to put your phone down and talk to people who know the names of the wind patterns. American Samoa is the kind of place where kids still fish with spears, elders run the village, and Sunday church services are louder than your Bluetooth speaker. It's America, but in the most ancient, mystical, rule-defying way possible. You're not just in paradise here. You're in a parallel America, one where nature still runs the show. And honestly, it's about time. Number 6. Isle, Maine, America's secret Nordic fairy tale island. You think Maine is all lobster rolls, lighthouses, and Stephen King fog monsters? Cute. Now let me introduce you to Isle, which sounds like a wine pairing but is actually a 12-mile-long, half-wild island floating off the coast of Maine that feels like someone dropped a piece of Norway into the North Atlantic and forgot to tell the government. It's technically part of the U.S., fully subject to all the usual red tape and voting rights. But emotionally, spiritually, atmospherically, this is Narnia for introverts. First of all, it takes effort to even find the place. There's no bridge. You have to take a ferry from the mainland town of Stonington, and even that's conditional on fog, wind, and whether the lobster boats feel like giving you room to pass. There are fewer than 60 year-round residents, and they don't just live here, they endure here. Winters are brutal. Mail comes by boat. There's no hospital, no chain restaurants, no Uber, no 5G, and if you want a latte, you'd better know how to steam oat milk over a wood stove. But come summer, it becomes an absolute explosion of green pine forests, black granite cliffs, and ocean air so crisp it could shave your soul. Almost half the island, yes half, is officially part of Acadia National Park, which means federally protected trails, wild blueberries that don't care about pesticides, and beaches where your only company is a bored seagull and a suspicious fox. You can hike the Duck Harbor Trail, which sounds adorable but is actually a rugged, near-religious experience through moss-covered forest and fog-laced coastal ridges. And here's the thing most people miss. The locals fought the government to keep this place semi-off-grid. They negotiated with the Park Service in the 1940s to co-manage the island, which is code for "we live here, we'll protect it, don't turn it into Disneyland." And they've succeeded. The result is one of the last places in the continental U.S. that still runs on seasonal logic, local trust, and total silence. Yes, it's still America. Your mail still has a zip code, and the dollar still gets you a cookie at the town store. But your brain? Your brain will think you've stepped into a cold, salty dream where elves might live in the trees, and honestly, you won't want to leave. Number 5. Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands. Tropical Pacific vibes. With U.S. citizenship included. Let's crank the surreal factor up to 11. Saipan is a volcanic island in the Northern Mariana Islands, which sounds like it should belong to Polynesia, or maybe a Bond villain. But nope, it's American. Fully, totally, legally. It's a Commonwealth of the United States, meaning the people here are U.S. citizens. They use the U.S. dollar, and they're under the same flag as you and me, even if their front yards are full of mango trees and their neighbors are Japanese W-point bunkers. Saipan is about 6,000 miles west of California, just a little dot in the western Pacific that somehow became one of the most beautiful islands nobody talks about. Why? Because the airlines don't advertise it, cruise ships don't stop here, and TikTok hasn't ruined it yet. Which means this is your chance to sneak in before the influencer plague arrives. The beaches here? Ludicrous. Crystal clear water in every possible shade of blue, white sand that looks airbrushed, and coral reefs so close to the shore you could swim to them while holding a coconut. There's Grotto Cave, a collapsed lava tube full of sea turtles and sunken volcanic drama. Bird Island Lookout gives you the kind of panoramic view that should cost $300 an hour. And then there's the local vibe, a mix of Chamorro, Carolinian, Filipino, and American cultures that somehow all coexist over coconut milk, karaoke, and intense barbecue parties. But don't let the laid-back vibe fool you. This island has layers. Saipan was the site of one of the bloodiest WW battles in the Pacific. You can still find tanks in the jungle, bunkers carved into cliffs, caves where civilians and soldiers hid or jumped. It's heavy history wrapped in tropical perfume. And get this, Saipan is technically closer to Tokyo than to Honolulu, which means its economy has a weird but fascinating blend of Pacific Island life and imported Asian retail. Also, and you didn't hear this from me, some U.S. tax and labor laws don't apply here in the same way, which is why tech billionaires have been sniffing around this place like it's the next Puerto Rico. But for now, it's just sitting there, gorgeous and ghostly, waving the stars and stripes while pretending it's still a coral kingdom. You want paradise with American rights and a side of mystery? Saipan's got you covered. Number 4. Dry Tortugas, Florida, the national park. You can't drive to, and that's the point. Now I know what you're thinking. Florida? Really? And I get it. Florida's usual brand is alligators with warrants and HOA presidents with flamethrowers. But Dry Tortugas is not Florida. Not spiritually, not emotionally, not even logistically. It's technically part of the state, yes, and part of America, but only in the way the moon is technically part of Earth. Because this place, it's 70 miles off the coast of Key West, surrounded by nothing but open ocean and good decisions. You can't drive there. You can't walk there. You can either take a 2.5-hour ferry or a $400 seaplane or, if you're insane, kayak for 3 days and question your life choices. But once you arrive, oh baby, you're in one of the least visited, most isolated, and most ridiculous national parks in the entire United States. It's called Dry because there's no fresh water. It's called Tortugas because early Spanish explorers found so many turtles they just gave up and named the whole thing after them. What's actually there? A 19th century hexagonal brick fortress built by the U.S. military for reasons that were unclear even then. Fort Jefferson. The thing is, 16 million bricks, 7 acres wide, and literally sinking into the sea while laughing about it. And all around it, shallow coral reefs so clear you can see stingrays dancing over shipwrecks. There's no hotel, no resort, no gift shop. If you want to stay overnight, you have to camp, as in bring your own water, food, tent, and existential courage, and trust that the ocean doesn't change its mind overnight. At night, there's zero light pollution, just the stars, the lapping waves, and the sound of your brain remembering what peace feels like. You can snorkel with parrotfish the size of toddlers, dive into the moat, yes, it has a moat, or climb the crumbling walls of a fortress that once held political prisoners during the Civil War. But here's the kicker. This place, despite being remote as the dark side of Mars, is still run by the National Park Service, still flies the U.S. flag, still operates on good old American bureaucracy. So yes, you're in paradise. But technically, you're in Monroe County, Florida. Try not to think about that as you watch the sun melt into water so blue it looks fake. America, but make it post-apocalyptic beachcore. Number 3. Point Roberts, Washington, the town. You have to leave the U.S. to get back into the U.S. Okay. Imagine this. You're standing in the United States. Not metaphorically, legally, constitutionally, stars and stripes certified. And to get to the next closest American town, you have to drive through another country. Welcome to Point Roberts, Washington, aka the place that makes zero geographic sense and somehow still exists without sparking an international incident. Point Roberts is a 4.9 square mile exclave stuck at the bottom of Canada. It's technically part of the U.S., but it's physically cut off from the rest of it by the 49th parallel. A straight line drawn by a 19th century diplomat who apparently didn't notice that this little peninsula hangs below it like a pixelated footnote. So, to get here, you have to leave Washington, drive through British Columbia, cross into Canada twice, and then re-enter the U.S. at the border of a town that has no hospital, no high school, no fast food franchises, and one tiny grocery store that closes early if the ferry guy's on vacation. But once you arrive, you're in a dream. Point Roberts has beaches with driftwood that looks like it was carved by Norse gods. Orcas breach offshore. Bald eagles perch on street signs like it's a Disney movie. You can walk to the beach, the marina, the forest, and never see another human being. There are about 1,100 year-round residents, mostly artists, retirees, and people who genuinely hate traffic. And here's the kicker. Because it's so isolated, everything feels suspended in time. Gas is delivered by barge. High school kids take a bus through Canada every day just to go to class in Blaine. If the border closes, you're stuck. No joke. In 2020, the pandemic hit and Point Roberts was literally cut off from both nations. Supply chains choked. People couldn't leave. It became a geopolitical snow globe, and somehow they adapted. Locals formed food co-ops, ran medicine runs across the water, and lived like pioneers with smartphones. This place is like if Twin Peaks met Lake Wobegon and fell asleep in a hammock. And yet, yes, it's still America. Still has a zip code, still pays taxes, still flies the flag. It just happens to be America's weirdest, most peaceful island, attached to land. 2. Palmyra Atoll, the U.S. territory that nobody can live on, but the CIA might. You want remote? I mean real remote? Try living on an island so far off the radar that it's illegal to live there permanently, and yet fully owned and operated by the United States government. Welcome to Palmyra Atoll, a surreal, uninhabited tropical paradise in the Central Pacific Ocean, 1,000 miles south of Hawaii. It's not part of any state. It's not part of any county. It's not even part of any country with humans on it. But it is U.S. sovereign territory, an incorporated territory, one of only a few, meaning the U.S. Constitution fully applies here. All of it, to no one, because no one's allowed to live here full-time. Let that marinate. Palmyra is a ring of 50-plus coral islets surrounding a lagoon so clear it looks like CGI. It was claimed by the U.S. in 1859 under the Guano Islands Act. Yep, we once passed a law so we could claim any island covered in bird poop. During World War II, it became a secret military base, complete with airstrips, bunkers, and communication towers. And today, it's co-owned by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Nature Conservancy. That's right, half military ruin, half protected eco-sanctuary, fully off-limits to your Airbnb dreams. No hotels, no infrastructure, no residents. You can only visit by special permit, and even then, you'll need to prove you're a scientist, researcher, or elite eco-wizard trying to study coral health or sea turtle migration. You can't move there. You can't build there. And yet, it's American land. A literal tropical no man's land with U.S. postal codes and secret Cold War backstory energy. Oh, and did I mention the murders? In the 1970s, a yachting couple was found dead under mysterious circumstances after anchoring off Palmyra. No one talks about it. Locals in Hawaii call it cursed, but the reef keeps growing. The sharks keep circling, and the U.S. flag still quietly waves over a lagoon that sees more dolphins than humans. This is the most beautiful place in America that you can't move to, and maybe that's the point. Maybe paradise is only paradise when nobody's paving it for parking. Palmyra is the country's strangest postcard, one you'll never send, but will absolutely haunt your Google searches. Number 1, Hana, Maui, the town where America ends and Eden begins, and now we arrive. The most beautiful place, still technically America. The crown jewel, the dreamscape, the place where your phone dies and your soul comes alive. Welcome to Hana, a tiny town on the eastern edge of Maui that feels less like a destination and more like a reward for surviving the madness of modern life. Getting there is half the story. You take the Hana Highway, a 64-mile stretch of pavement with 620 curves, 59 one-lane bridges, and about 10,000 opportunities to reevaluate your life. It's part road trip, part spiritual initiation, and by the time you arrive, eyes wide, stomach queasy, heart full, you'll feel like you've entered a place that exists outside time. Hana isn't just remote, it's resistant. Resistant to development, to noise, to chains. There are no high-rises, no resorts, no golf carts full of influencers, just jungles that breathe, cliffs that hum, and beaches so black, red, and gold they look photoshopped in real life. Napa State Park has volcanic caves, natural sea arches, and a black sand beach that eats flip-flops for breakfast. Drive a little further and you'll find red sand beaches hidden behind crumbling trails where the ocean sounds like it's telling secrets. And then, the 7 sacred pools of Ohio Gulch, where waterfalls cascade like heaven has plumbing. The people of Hana? Fiercely local, deeply Hawaiian, protective of their land and proud of their lineage. You're not in tourist Hawaii anymore. You're in pre-contact Hawaii with internet access. And yet, it's still the United States. Mail trucks run, dollars spend, federal tax laws still apply, though they feel irrelevant out here. You can vote, register a business, get Amazon packages, if you're patient, and technically, legally, do everything a mainland American can. But surrounded by a landscape so stunning it feels biblical. And here's the secret sauce. Hana doesn't care if you're impressed. It doesn't try to sell you anything. It doesn't post for your Instagram. It just exists, like a living poem about what America could be if we stopped paving every corner of it. This isn't paradise because it's perfect. It's paradise because it's untamed, undisturbed, unapologetically itself. You don't just visit Hana, you leave a piece of yourself there and take something much, much deeper home. So yeah, the next time someone tells you America's just fast food, credit scores, and concrete, send them a postcard from a black sand beach they didn't know existed. Because the truth is, paradise isn't overseas. It's just off the radar. It's hiding at the bottom of Canada, floating in the Pacific, clinging to jungle cliffs in Maui, and collecting dust on forgotten government maps. No passport, no international law. Just silence, stars, sea turtles, and legal U.S. jurisdiction. You've been trained to think paradise is expensive, foreign, and out of reach. It's not. It's under the same constitution, on the same tax form, and in places so beautiful they make your phone's wallpaper feel like a lie. The only thing stopping you from seeing it? Is you. Or maybe your zip code. So pack lighter, scroll deeper, and remember, America is weirder, wilder, and more secretly stunning than anyone wants you to know. Hit that like button if your hometown suddenly feels like it owes you an apology. And subscribe, because next time we're showing you the states where freedom is illegal, but feral chickens run local government. You're not ready.